Hi viewers, welcome to the Learning Hub of Dr. Jai's View, and in this video I am going to share an important learning resources regarding the approaches of teaching. So usually teaching is a great thing to create a very good society through a wonderful and perfect teaching. So in that connection, I want to share something related to the approaches of lesson planning. This particular title is for those who belongings to teaching field and as well as the teaching category. This video will support for a lot, and I'm sure this will support for their betterment of teaching. Let us discuss one by one. So the very important thing is preparing a lesson plan is a very important part of the teaching, especially how we have to provide a systematic designing instructions for our regular classroom teaching, especially the entire lesson will targeting the participants' needs and their interest, especially how our lesson plan is goal oriented and well organized and tailored to meet the needs of the students. So in this way, this video will support you with basic ideas of preparing lesson plans, such as teacher-centered approach. Second one is learner-centered approach. Then third one is outcome-based approach, and the last and fourth one is integrated approach. So nowadays, the teaching become a very important aspects of the overall quality development among the students. So for that, we need to learn something extra behind the teaching, normal teaching plan. So for that, I will discuss these four things in a different aspects. First thing is the teacher-centered approach. This is the primarily focusing on source of knowledge, how we will provide the knowledge source for the students' better understanding, especially in this particular lesson plan. The lessons are highly structured and the teacher plans the entire session, including activities and assignments. So this is majorly suitable for content heavy lessons. Mostly these kinds of teacher centered approaches will support for the teachers to introduce an entirely different content and difficult content. So in the case of learner centered approach, it is very user friendly. It is mainly targeted on active participation of the students, especially it focus of the learning process of the students. So the present situation and the present trend is based on the learner centered approach. So we will give more importance for learner centered approach, especially the collaboration activities and inquiry based and problem solving skills need to be developed among the children. So this is an important factor to introduce learner centered approach. And then third one is outcome based approach. So outcome based approach is specific learning outcomes. If a teacher want to expect from their students with a specific learning outcomes, then he will make use of these kinds of lesson planning, especially for competency based outcomes, and it will aligns with the teaching strategies and assessment with defined objectives. We have to pre-plan everything and we have to implement it. And the final one is integrated approach. This is a very important and multiple approach to address the diverse learning needs of the student. Suppose in the classroom, there must be a different variety of students with high knowledge peoples and middle knowledge peoples and low knowledge peoples. For all those, we have to combine with multiple approaches, especially how they are flexible and adaptive and suitable for interdisciplinary teaching. So for that, we are using integrated approach. Even though we are having different varieties of lesson planning, we have to follow certain basic ideas for classroom teaching. I explain in this video with steps of lesson planning in 11 different steps. First one is identifying learning objectives. So without learning objectives, we will not give you exact teaching. Especially the students should know and understand to be able to do at the end of the lesson. As a teacher, we must know what at end, what we need to create or what we need to expect at the end of our teaching. So that must be very, very important. For that, in the identification or learning objectives, we are following a SMART approach, such as specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So all these combine together to provide a good learning objectives. And the next one is analyzing the learners. So while preparing the lesson plan for classroom teaching, we must understand our learners, to whom we are going to teach. So in that way, we have to find out the background of the students and their abilities and how they are having the prior knowledge in the particular content. So that should be considered for preparing a lesson plan, especially in the analyzing learners. It should help for mixed ability classes, then different proficiency level classes may use a very important factor in this. The next one is break down the content. This is the highlight of the preparing lesson plan. So whenever we prepare a lesson plan, we have to create a part by part lesson plan. Lesson plan in the sense the content. Then only the students can able to understand easily. So in that, we have to break down the core concept into small concepts. The particular reason of the breakdown of content is to avoid the overload of cognitive among the children. The present problem of the student is they may not be ready to accept the overloaded content. So in that way, we have to consider the breakdown of content. And the next one is the selecting of teaching strategies. Very, very important. Through which medium we have approached the students and we are going to deliver our content. So for that, I will suggest the 4 things such as direct instructions, such as factual knowledge and skills we have to explain to them and to make them to ready for learning lessons. Then collaborative learning. This is a wonderful method to be adopted in the classroom to produce the effective teaching learning process. Then inquiry based learning, and finally experimental learning. So how best we try to provide the real world applications in the lesson plan. So this is some of the basic ideas how a lesson plan can take an important role in the classroom teaching. To continue to that, the next step is designing engaging activities. So this is another important thing to provide and how the students are involved and how we have to reinforce their learning during our classroom teaching. Most of the problem of the present situation is their distraction maybe takes place in the classroom. While teaching, most of the times students are able to distract at so many times. So automatically their learning should be reduced. So to avoid that, we have to plan for engaging activities. We have to give some warm-up activities such as give a short task to gaining their attention, then provide some main activities such as provide some core tasks, doing some experiments and problem solving topics we have to given and to identify the solution for that. Then closure activities, very very important. While preparing a lesson, we always added with the closure activity, because for the whole class we are teaching so many things, but in the case of closure we have to short out everything. The last minute learning is very very strong enough for students mind to what we are going to give. The next one is preparing material and resources. That is another step of preparing lesson plan. What are all the materials we need to utilize for our teaching? For example, in the case of physical resources, we have to prepare charts, models and worksheets during our classroom teaching to make an effective teaching situations among our students. Then digital tools. If suppose we are having a DG boards inside the classroom, then we have to prepare video lessons and presentations, and we have to make use of educational softwares nowadays. So many softwares are available to provide a good teaching. Then classroom setup. So for example, if we will going to demo certain experiments, or we will going to explain certain experiment with an with an instrument, then we have to arrange the classroom setting. So, and these things are the preliminary setups we have to do inside the classroom. The assessment, our lesson teaching will not be complete. So usually we are following formative and summative evaluation. So how we have to provide with ongoing evaluation and to end of the lesson. So how we have to align with the objective may incorporate with how we have to plan for the assessment. So assessment is very very important. And the next eighth steps of preparing lesson plan is differentiating instructions. Very very important. How we have to give a lesson to meet the need of all the students. Why? Because we are always trying to teach a good quality content to students, but in the same time we need to consider their output. So for that, how we have to provide the content for them to simplifying the complicated concepts, and what are all the process we are utilizing, and what kind of products we are expecting from that. And the next one is structuring time effectively. Very very important. So during the 45 minutes of a session, how we have to maintain the time bound, it is very very important. For example, if we consider the simple concept like a classroom teaching with a simple three types of division, such as introduction, then main activities and closure. Suppose if you will consider the introduction part is between the 6 to 10 minutes, and the main activity part is 25 to 30 minutes, and the closure part is again 6 to 10 minutes, automatically we will balancing the 45 minutes, which includes the buffering limits, such as asking questions and getting proper answers. Sometimes the students may take some time to give the answer for our questions. So delay may happen. So that itself consider as a very, very important while preparing a lesson plan. And the 10th very important thing is writing a lesson plan. So after collecting all these steps or all these informations, we have to start writing lesson plan. So we suggest some of the parts to be completely support for the classroom teaching with a good lesson plan, such as general information. We always provide the general information like name, grade of the student, subject, topic, class, time, session, date, everything. Then objectives. We have to clearly define the objectives what we are going to teach in the classroom. Then materials. What type of materials we are utilizing for the classroom teaching. Then activities. Very, very important. So the center of the attraction of each classroom teaching is based on how a teacher can arrange an activity-based teaching. And the next one is assessment. Assessment in the sense how we have to give a better understanding level activities to students. We should get some ideas from the students, from our questions or from our evaluation system. So then only we assure that our teaching will reach to them. For that, the lesson plan is very, very important too. Then last one is reflection. Reflection is nothing but notes for improving future lessons. How we have to provide some additional support for them to give a good direction. And the last one is a review. Review is very, very important. Whenever we are planning the lesson, everything well done with a perfect manner, and at last we have to evaluate its effectiveness by reflecting how the students are engaged inside the classroom, and how the time management takes place in the classroom, and how the suitability of activity and assessments can take place inside the classrooms. So these are all some of the steps we can utilize for the preparation of lesson plan and as well as for effective teaching. From this, one thing I want to conclude that a 1 hour or a 45 minutes classroom teaching is not mere a classroom teaching. It is a gift given by every teacher to provide a wonderful learning experience to the children. So preparing a lesson plan in a step-by-step process is very, very important and essential for all the teachers. The next part we have to consider, and we have to discuss about another important levels of preparing lesson plan. Thank you.